Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the Black Vault Alien Files Part 3, where I tell you about the CIA's recently declassified UFO files that were released on the Black Vault website. If you have not done so yet, I recommend that you watch Parts 1 and 2 by clicking right here. And I know that this is like 1,000 subscribers too late, but I will be doing a 1,000 subscriber special as a thank you to you guys, where I answer all the questions to this post, as well as any questions that come up in the chat, and answer any questions that you may have during the conversation as well. This is going to happen on Tuesday, February 16th at 4 p.m. CT, so if you'd like to be a part of it, hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that you get reminders for this event. Okay, so last time we talked, we stopped on this paper, which talks about an interesting combination between communism and UFOs in Buenos Aires. It's dated May 25th, 1962, and has the headline, Communists Appeal for Popular Front. According to this, the Argentine Communist Party released a declaration asking several trade unions and parties to unite to form a strong front to prevent the consolidation of the dictatorship. This is because the present regime has definitely been unmasked in the face of world opinion as well as the country's. And then the entire next part of the report is about unidentified flying objects. It has nothing to do with the dictatorship or communism. So apparently in Bahia Blanca, which is a province of Buenos Aires, UFOs are causing a most varied, there's some word here that I can't read, maybe commerce, among the people there. On May 21st, 1962, many people saw a strange luminous body suspended for several minutes over the city before it disappeared quickly. A local photographer was actually able to take 2 pictures of this object, which apparently just looked like a luminous oval on print, but you can make that decision for yourself because here is one of those photos in the newspaper that published it, the Nueva Provincia. At the time of this report, the Cordoba Astronomical Observatory was actually coupling data about this from all over Argentina because there had been similar sightings all around the country. However, all these other sightings were not as obvious as the sighting at Bahia Blanca. The observatory was asking the public to submit their observations so that they could determine if there was any other explanation for this phenomenon, like meteorites or fallen satellites, or really anything that was not alien related. Okay, so this paper looks like it's still in Buenos Aires, but we've moved forward a couple years to July 5th, 1965. The subject line here is Punitive Steps Against Extremists Asked. Things are starting to heat up here because there's a rumor of a coup going around in Buenos Aires. And the government, apparently in a McCarthy-like campaign, has just taken the first step towards repressing left-wing forces, which in this case are the fascists and the Youth Communist Federation. Also, if you don't know what the paper meant by McCarthy-like, it was basically saying super anti-communist campaigns. Google McCarthyism if you'd like more on that. Honestly, most of this paper was pretty boring to me, so I'm just gonna give you the bones until we hit the UFO stuff. So we've got the Buenos Aires government fighting communism, there's a money issue with meat imports, Argentina has agreed to continue diplomatic relations with Algeria, and then there's something about oil imports in Argentina making crude oil purchases through private companies, and then finally at the very end, we're back to the UFOs. In this section labeled Antarctic Flying Saucers, apparently a group of red, green, and yellow flying saucers were seen flying over Deception Island and the South Orkney Islands in Antarctica by Argentinian, Chilean, and British Antarctic bases. Okay, with this paper, we've got a time change and a location change. We have made it to September 23rd, 1977, and we've moved from Buenos Aires to Moscow, Russia, for some USSR scientific affairs. Just a day before this report was written, on September 22nd, the Prognoz 6 was launched by the Soviet Union at 3:51 a.m. Moscow time. The purpose of the Prognoz 6 is to continue the research that was started in 1972 by the Prognoz Automatic Observatory to conduct research into the corpuscular and electromagnetic radiation of the sun, solar plasma flows, and magnetic fields surrounding the Earth, with the aim of determining the influence of solar activity on the interplanetary medium and on the Earth's magnetosphere, and also research into galactic ultraviolet rays, X-rays, and gamma rays. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Corpuscular radiation is radiation that consists of atomic and subatomic particles. Solar plasma flows are the flow of gases on the surface and below of the sun. Here's a little animation to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. The magnetosphere is just the area around our planet controlled by the Earth's magnetic field, And these galactic ultraviolet rays are literally just the UV rays that we wear sunscreen to protect ourselves from, to prevent skin damage and possible cancers. Returning to the Prognoz 6, apparently the Soviet Union, the CSSR, and the French collaborated on this project in order to build some tool that needed to complete the mission. The paper goes on to talk about how much the station weighs, the details around its planned orbit, and then moves on to the next section labeled Unusual Natural Phenomenon Observed in Karelia. The inhabitants of Petrozavodsk, Karelia's capital, saw a huge star flare up in the sky at 4 a.m. on September 20th, 1977. It impulsively sent shafts of light to the Earth before moving slowly to Petrozavodsk and spreading out over it in the form of a medusa. It proceeded to hang there and shower the city in a multitude of fine light rays, which created the image of pouring rain. After some time, the medusa turned into a bright white semicircle and continued on its path towards Lake Onega. The entire affair took about 10 to 12 minutes. This next part is a bit difficult to read, but it looks like the director of the Petrozavodsk Hydrometeorological Observatory, Ugromov, told someone that this wasn't like anything he'd seen before and that he had no idea what caused this phenomenon. He also stressed that there were no technological experiences happening at that time and that there were a lot of eyewitnesses to this event, all of which had identical evidence. And finally, this last paragraph touches on how a group of Soviet women recently set a world flight record, which is super cool, but then they don't name their names, which is sad. Before we continue, I just want to remind you guys that this is a series that I'm doing as long as you guys are interested in it. So if you are interested and you would like more, let me know by hitting that like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss the next episode. Okay, so for this next paper, where we're going back to Argentina on May 25th, 1978. Military man Castro Madero, who on March 29th, 1976, became the delegate for the National Atomic Energy Commission, announced that if a nuclear power plant was installed in Arroyo, Argentina, that it will have an economic and non-polluting source of energy. But that depends on the plans of the Energy Secretariat. Fast forwarding a little bit, he talks about the future of a heavy water plant in the city and how, while there are a lot of international issues around this plant, he still believes that it will be built. Apparently, the stages of this transition are planned until 1985, with phase 2 occurring from 1985 until 2000. The paper continues with the Bolivian army commander Villalpando visiting. There's a petition to find a missing person in Buenos Aires. There were some arrests and releases in Buenos Aires. And finally, in Salta, Argentina, there was a strange object that was spotted 1,700 kilometers away from Buenos Aires. But apparently it was just an artificial satellite. Likely story, Argentinian government. The rest of the paper is crossed out, but to give you the headlines, WFF signs $250 million credit in the US. I have no idea what WFF is. The paper did not answer that question. Some rules on firearm restrictions, an electronic telex switchboard is being inaugurated for international services, and the local TV station will broadcast experimental programs transmitted by microwaves this weekend. Interesting. I'll see all of you at 4 p.m. on Tuesday CT for the live stream, and then again on Friday at 12 CT for the Gateway Intermediate Workbook Part 2. Thanks for watching.